Picture a night with no cities, no streetlights, no phone screen casting a pale glow across your face, no hum of electricity, no distant traffic, no clock on the wall telling you it is late. Just darkness, real darkness, the kind that presses against your eyes and makes distance disappear. Now put a human in that darkness, not a modern human with a tent and a flashlight, a human from 50,000 years ago, skin against cold air, fire somewhere nearby, maybe, stars overhead, enormous and uncountable, and a night that will last 12 hours with no way to skip it. What did they do? The question sounds simple, but the more you think about it, the stranger it becomes. Because we spend roughly a third of our lives in the dark, and for most of human history, that time was not simply wasted. It was not just sleep. It was something else entirely, something we have almost completely forgotten. And the answer, when you start digging into it, changes how you think about what humans actually are. First, we have to get something out of the way. The idea that ancient humans simply went to sleep when the sun went down is almost certainly wrong. Modern sleep research has quietly dismantled that assumption. A team of scientists studied 3 hunter-gatherer groups, the Hadza of Tanzania, the San of Namibia, and the Tsimane of Bolivia. These are groups living in ways that have not changed dramatically for thousands of years. And what they found was surprising. These groups did not fall asleep at sunset. They typically stayed awake for 3 to 4 hours after dark. Their average sleep duration was just under 7 hours. And they did not treat night as a dead zone. They treated it as a different kind of time. So the question is not only what ancient humans did at night, it is what night actually meant to them. Because for most of human history, night was not an absence. It was a presence. Fire changed everything about the dark. The control of fire, which some evidence places as far back as 1 million years ago, did not just keep ancient humans warm. It did something more profound. It pushed back the boundary of the usable day. It created a zone of light and heat that belonged entirely to the group gathered around it. And around that fire, something very human began happening. Researchers studying the Jew Huanzi people, a group in the Kalahari, whose way of life offers a window into older human patterns, found a striking difference between daytime and nighttime conversation. During the day, talk was practical: food, tools, movement, tasks. But at night, around the fire, the content shifted completely. Nighttime talk was full of stories. Not gossip, not complaints, stories. Narratives about animals, about ancestors, about the spirit world, about things that happened long ago and far away. Around 80% of nighttime conversation in these groups involved storytelling of some kind. Think about what that means. The firelit night may have been the original classroom, the original theater, the original place where a group of humans stopped doing and started imagining, where knowledge was not written down but spoken aloud, shaped into stories so memorable that children could carry them forward for generations. The night was when culture was transmitted, when the invisible rules of a group were reinforced, when the dead were remembered and the future was described in ways that made it feel possible. But it was not only stories. There is growing evidence that ancient humans did not experience the night as a single unbroken sleep. The concept of sleeping in one long block, what researchers call consolidated sleep, may actually be a product of the modern world, of artificial light, of work schedules, of alarm clocks. The historian A. Roger E. Kirch spent decades studying historical records and found references across hundreds of years and dozens of cultures to something called first sleep and second sleep. People would fall asleep shortly after dark, wake naturally in the middle of the night, spend an hour or two awake, and then fall into a second sleep until morning. That quiet waking in the middle of the night was not treated as insomnia. It was treated as a normal part of the night. People would pray or think or talk softly with a partner, or get up and do small tasks by candlelight. In colder climates, some would pull blankets tighter and lie still in a state of quiet wakefulness that felt different from both sleep and full activity. If this pattern existed in more recent history, it is reasonable to wonder whether ancient humans shared something similar. Whether the night was never truly divided into a sleep and a wake, but something more fluid, a long tide moving in and out. The dark also demanded something that daytime did not: attention of a different kind. During the day, the world is visible. Threats can be seen. Direction can be tracked. Food can be found with the eyes. But at night, hearing sharpens. Smell becomes more important. The sounds of the environment become a kind of language. A branch breaking in the dark is not just a sound. It is a decision. Do you move? Do you call out? Do you wake the others? Ancient humans, living without walls and locks, developed a relationship with nighttime sound that modern people have almost entirely lost. The night was not background noise. It was information. And this may have shaped the human brain in ways that still echo inside us. The particular unease many people feel in darkness, the way a strange sound at night feels more threatening than the same sound at noon, the instinct to move toward light when frightened. These responses are not irrational. They are ancient. They are the product of hundreds of thousands of years of nights where the dark genuinely contained things that could kill you. Then there is the sky. Ancient humans had no light pollution. On a clear night, the sky above them was extraordinary in a way that almost no one alive today has ever seen. The Milky Way, visible as a dense river of light. Thousands of stars, sharp and close-looking. The moon casting shadows strong enough to move by. And ancient humans watched it, carefully, over generations. Long before writing, humans were tracking celestial patterns, not because they had telescopes or mathematics, but because the sky was the most reliable clock they had. The position of certain stars told them what season was coming. The phase of the moon helped them measure time across months. The movement of planets marked cycles that affected animals, plants, and weather. This was not primitive superstition. It was practical astronomy built through years of patient night observation. The night sky was a tool, and learning to read it was a skill passed down through exactly the kind of nighttime storytelling that happened around fires. Some of the oldest known cave paintings may contain star maps. Some ancient narratives encoded in myth may be descriptions of astronomical events. The stories and the stars were connected, because the night was when both came alive. And then there was the social world of the dark. Night created a kind of equality that the day did not always offer. In firelight, faces look the same. Status is harder to signal. The chief and the youngest member of the group are both just shapes in the warmth of the same light. Some researchers have suggested that the equalizing effect of fire and night may have played a role in the relatively egalitarian social structures seen in many hunter-gatherer groups. Around the fire, voices mattered more than size or strength. The best storyteller, the person who could hold attention in the dark, had a kind of power. Not physical power, social power. The power to shape what the group believed, remembered, and feared. That may be one reason why language became so important to our species specifically. Not just as a tool for daytime coordination, but as a technology for nighttime survival, for holding a group together in the dark. So what did ancient humans actually do at night? They stayed awake longer than we might expect. They told stories around fires that kept fear at a distance and knowledge alive. They slept in patterns that were not a single block, but something more broken and natural. They listened to the dark for information and danger. They watched the sky with attention we can barely imagine today. And they used the night as a space for the most human of all activities, making meaning together. The night was not dead time. It was a different kind of living. And when the fire burned low and the stories quieted and the stars moved slowly overhead, the group would drift towards sleep. Not because there was nothing left to do, but because the night had already done its work. It had held them together. It had moved something forward. Every night, without knowing it, they were building the thing that would survive long after them. Not tools, not shelters, culture, invisible, spoken, firelit, and carried in the memory of everyone still awake when the darkness finally gave way to dawn.